Go. Welcome everyone to Learn with the League. Learn with the League is a program of the League of Women Voters Torrance area. Weekly interviews with policymakers, government officials, and nonprofits that support them are the guests on this show. I'm your host, Athena Paquette, and I'm co-president now of the League of Women Voters Torrance area. To join our mailing list, simply text 444-999 and enter the message LWVTA, and you'll be able to be connected to us. Today, I have as my guest Michelle Chambers, and she's the senior field representative for Assembly Member Mike Gipson. And I'm really excited to interview her because people really don't have an idea what a field representative is. They meet their assembly person or their senator, and they don't know that there's a whole machine behind them supporting them and being in touch with the public and their constituents. So I'm glad to have Michelle with me today. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, Athena. It is such a pleasure to be here today with you, and thank you to our great League of Women Voters Torrance area for having me and all of your members. Hello.
Well, thanks for joining me. I think this is going to be a really good talk, and I thought it's always a good place to start with how you started. Like, in other words, do you have a family? What's your personal background, professional background, and then how you came to be an assembly person's field representative?
Okay. Well, I hail from the great state of Pennsylvania, actually. I do have a beautiful family. I have my great husband, Todd, and our sons, Trenton and Damien, 27, 25. Carter. Yeah, we have grown big boys. And grown people in the house, and of course our little dog Nyla. But, I'm from Pennsylvania, and my background, my political career, just give you a little background. Educated through the Pennsylvania educational system and Harrisburg School District, and now I'm pursuing my master's degree, which is great, and it's kind of interesting because I'm looking to go into the law realm like my mother. So that's always interesting.
Wow,
but my political career, she's in a law field, correct? And so we started from public service. We've always been a public service family. But so the political career, the political giving back to the community has always been in us from the beginning. But yeah.
So what kind of careers? So you have a bachelor's if you're getting a master's, right?
I was about to say I would want to be quiet and let you go into the question. Yes, from National University, pursuing that, and as well as going into the master's program.
Okay, and what is the bachelor's degree in?
Political science.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes.
So when did you first have help is on the way? Thank God she got
yes.
She's a little horse.
yes.
So when was the first time that you thought about politics? Or, I mean, not many people get a bachelor's in politics. So what led you to think, oh, that's the degree I want? Or when was that first spark that made you think, yeah, I want to do this?
Actually, my family has always been in public service and community giving back. It was second nature for us. For my mother, volunteering in your community, always giving back in your community. But as a career, that was a whole nother realm of possibility for me. I didn't notice that I wanted to do it until I seen it working. Until I started believing in my government. And what I mean by that is, again, from Pennsylvania, I think it was about the Governor Casey. Governor Casey, early 80s, then Governor Rendell administration, I would say, where I started to see change in our community, effective change, effective policy making. And I wanted to be a part. When there's so much red tape in government, we kind of get a little taken aback, mistrusting. We don't want to be bothered. It's just too much work. But now I see, what made me want to get into it is that it started to work. When you start to see your government work, you start to trust it more. And I think that's when I said, hey, I want it to be an effective in the side of policy or in the political arena.
And so did you have a particular job in mind when that spark happened, or is that kind of like when you started discovering in what capacities you could serve, like what the different jobs were? Or did you have a specific job like, I want to be an assembly member's field representative? Like
Not
most
at
people don't
all.
even know what that is, right?
Right, not at all. You know what it started on? It started on I wanted to get them in here. I wanted to get help. So it started on the campaign side, actually.
Okay.
Okay, that's how, and that's normally how it does start. When you see someone who you believe in, who you feel can make a change in your community, you go,
Mm,
hey, I want to start helping. So that's my mother, like I said, it always had us volunteering and always giving back to the community. So once I got a taste of that, then I said, okay, then I started to work for the person. It's
mm,
like, wow, it became a whole nother world.
yeah.
Now it's either you're into the policy side of a Capitol building or whether you're out in the community. Um, Both of them are rewarding and life changing on either aspect, depending on what side you choose to get at. But I
Mm,
definitely knew that after volunteering, that I knew I wanted to. This is what I wanted to do.
yeah. And was that at the city level, state level? What level of government was
That's,
that first experience?
that first experience was on the state level in
Oh, wow.
government. Yeah, that was definitely at the state level. And then after the state level, then it got into more local level, county, city. But it always started definitely at the state level.
Okay.
Definitely.
Oh, so interesting. Okay. And so, s- so what careers did you have or what jobs did you have throughout? If you could give us some ideas of things that you did.
Sure, sure. Well, I have currently over, and that's a good question. Currently, I have over 25 years of government experience.
Wow.
Yeah, I
That's
started out in the state of Pennsylvania as a state employee, part of a union the entire time, AFSCME, local. So I started out um, in the taxing entity of Pennsylvania, the Department of Revenue, and then after that, spent years there. Then went into the Pennsylvania House of Representatives, and my boss was the Pennsylvania Legislative Black Caucus, and in that is where you really get a real dose of issues affecting your community. How much change can you bring to your community? It's one thing to work for, say, a committee, or it's one thing to work for a budgetary committee, but it's another thing to work for an actual caucus where you're pushing legislative agenda items, particularly for that caucus or for that cause in your community. So that's my start, and it really opened my eyes into the needs and lacking
Mm,
issues in our community that we're really facing, the
mm,
disparities, if you will. It
right.
really shows disparities in our community when you work for a caucus such as that. And then you say to yourself, how can I help? How can I make a difference? And I'll tell you, that is when work in government works. When you have someone who has been done an unjust and you have that relationship with other entities and other law enforcement entities and agencies where you can get that person the assistance they need within a day or two, that is when you start to see it work.
Mhm.
That is really what keeps you up at night. So that is how it started.
Yeah. So are you a lady that feels when you met someone like that or heard of an issue, was it more like like a getting enraged thing, or was it like a deep compassion? Like what gets you motivated, or what happened in that situation?
Well, in that particular situation, it definitely motivated me. And the situations vary. There are situations where you can become deeply enraged, but you
Mm-hmm.
have to, of course, remain calm for that constituent so that they can be calm and you can work through their issue. Or there is a case where you will become compassionate. You
Mm.
know, and then you seem to work through that. But in this particular case, it was a compassionate case, and you never know how compassionate you are until you have to work through a case such as those.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, so now why don't kind of what I call nuts and bolts, why don't you explain a little bit about what a field rep, oh, before I go on to that, when did you start with the assembly person? When did you meet Mike Gipson, or when did you start working for him on his team?
Okay. I've known Assemblyman Gipson for a while when he was on the city of Carson City Council. And this is when I worked under the leadership of Congresswoman Diane Watson and Congresswoman Hahn. And I started with the assembly member as soon as he won in 2015, and I've been here ever since. And it's been a great, tremendous journey.
Yeah, I bet.
This district is the 64th Assembly District is just amazing. It's been a life-changing experience.
Yeah, I bet. That's awesome. Okay, so now, besides going to parties and giving out awards and such, what exactly does a field representative do? Well, I know the parties are great.
Hi, I just see my mother-in-law going. Hi, Mom.
Oh, awesome. And
Linda
to everyone who's signed on, if you have a question, feel free to ask. I'll be monitoring this. So far, it's just kudos for Ms. Chambers, but I'll be watching questions.
Thank you, everyone. So other than going to parties, you say, and certificates, really, the field deputy in my position, senior field representative, is almost like the assemblyman when he's not here. You know, he has to handle his legislative business in Sacramento. So while he is not here in the district, we make sure we provide the community with legislative updates on what he's doing up in Sacramento, his legislative packet, what his legislative agenda is. And not only that, but we also do constituent casework. So if there's any constituent who has an issue with any state issue, state agency, then we are that liaison between the community and the state agencies. Now, we not only work with state agencies, we also partner with law enforcement. We also partner with other offices. We also take a task on hosting events that are beneficial and tangible for the community, other than giving out awards. But that is.
So what would be examples of those tangible things you do for the community? Just in your world, give us some examples of that.
Sure. Well, one of those is we just had last year, we had a very successful traffic ticket amnesty event. And I don't know if you were aware, but 2016, I believe it was, I want to say 2016, Governor Jerry Brown signed into legislation a traffic ticket amnesty bill, which will provide constituents whose driver's license was suspended due to traffic tickets, that they would be provided some type of amnesty. And this whole initiative was to get our community back to work. Okay, and we knew that having parking tickets with the fines and the cost, by the time you pay the DMV fines and the cost, you're into the thousands. So this one-time amnesty bill allowed constituents who were in that particular situation to start a payment plan with DC Services through LA Superior Court was also a partner, and as low as $25. And after 10 days, then the courts would send a release to the Department of Motor Vehicles, and their license would be lifted. And what does that do? That gets our community back to work, driving legally, less fines, and self-sustainability. That's exactly what it provided. So what I did was I wanted to host an event where we provided 1 day full wraparound services, like a one-stop shop.
Okay.
And with the help of Compton Career Link, who had access to all the computers, as well as Shield for Families, we partner with GC Services, who is the financial collector for LA Superior Court, and our Department of Motor Vehicles. And we had them all there with their live computers. The constituents came in, those who were not previously registered were able to log on to the computer, register for traffic ticket amnesty. If they were already registered, they can go directly to the DMV booth, see what fines were holding up their license. They were there with live computers. They were able to go over and remit payment for their fines and costs. Some even got their license back there on the spot. Some were able to get old fines eradicated from their DMV record. I mean, it was a great one-time event that served well over 2,000 constituents in the district.
Wow.
We had people walking away in tears, people who had not driven Athena in over 10 years.
Oh my God.
Who had not had driver's license 10 years got their driver's license privileges back. So that's one event where I say that's a tangible takeaway. Right. Where we even had employees for several agencies who came back and said, hey, Ms. Chambers, because of that traffic ticket amnesty event, I got a promotion. I can drive the company van now. So it really was a tangible event. And we have a few of those upcoming this year, so we'll be sure to keep you posted.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's pretty cool because in LA, no car, no job. I mean, how do people work?
Definitely.
I mean, sure, drive a bike and take your life into your hands, but
definitely.
Definitely.
Definitely. It definitely was a great takeaway. LA Superior Court and Department of Motor Vehicles was extremely pleased with our turnout. We hope to do something like that on a local level soon.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any other examples of these events that you put on, or maybe one coming up that you'd like to mention to people?
Well, of course. August the 23rd, we're partnering with the Child Support Enforcement. Okay, we froze a little bit there. We're partnering with LA Child Support Enforcement, so we're going to do the same thing with them. It's going to be a child support resource fair. We're going to have child support there answering questions about your child support cases, how much is owed, how to get that down. We're going to have LA City parking tickets, Department of Enforcement there. We're going to also have several employment resource centers there, as well as Department of Motor Vehicles. We've all invited. So that's another tangible takeaway event we're having. But more importantly, another one of a good one that we'll be hosting on July the 11th is our Homeless Laundry of Love Day.
Oh,
and yes, it's big, it's major. Right now we know we have a huge homeless issue here in LA County. And as we know, funds that through Measure H are coming through, and a lot is being done. We still have some needs right now. And one of those needs that if we know we can provide them with clean laundry and hot showers and food, that is, and haircuts, then that is one of the gateways to self-sustainability. And they may go out and get a job that day. So on July 11th, we're partnering with Just For You Laundry in the community of Watts. In the community of Watts, that's at 108th and Compton Avenue. And we'll be closing down for the day, strictly for homeless constituents to come in and do their laundry for free. We also partner with local churches who will be providing food. We'll be feeding the community as well as have a clothing collection where they will be able to change their clothes. We're leaving out our portable shower service. So they'll be able to take a shower. They pick out their clothes, take the shower, put on the clean clothes, go into the laundromat, wash their laundry, and as their laundry's wanted, they'll go over to the church next door and have a hot meal.
That's awesome. What an awesome event that's going to be. And so do you need volunteers for that, or is it?
I'm sorry?
Do you need volunteers for that, or is that something that staff does, or do they do it through your church? How would someone get involved with that day's events?
Well, they can definitely call me at 310-324-6407. Michelle Chambers, I'm the lead of that event. And we can definitely use volunteers. We can always use volunteers, but we can also use contributions. If you want to collect care packages for the shower portion, we're more than welcome. If you would like to collect clothing and donate clothing to our constituency, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Linda Dean says you're a passionate advocate for the people. I like that.
Thank you. I get it honest. That's exactly who I get it from. Thank you, Ms. Dean.
That's so awesome. So so just describing what a field representative does. So you're a senior field representative, so you're actually like his shadow here, you're like another assembly person in a sense when he's not here. So what's a typical day? Maybe you could share a typical day of what you do. And
of course.
But yeah.
A typical day through night, you mean? Because we never rest.
Right.
But a typical day is, first our main priority is being accessible. So you may have events in the morning, such as a Chamber of Commerce breakfast, where you go and provide updates on what we're doing for businesses in the legislature, Go Biz tax credits. We discuss hiring opportunities for our reentry populations, for our seniors. So those may be our early morning as our chamber breakfasts. Maybe we may have a speak at a school, or it could be either going to go present, pick up the assemblyman, present him with his packet on the weekends as he's coming in. If you don't have anything in the morning, which is a relief, then we do report into the office and answer our literally 60 emails that we get overnight.
Yeah.
Those emails Now remember, those emails can be anywhere from constituent assistance to attending an event, speaking on the assemblyman's behalf, coming to provide a legislative update, or just simply coming out and awarding someone with a commendation who is a rewarding constituent. So
Mm-hmm.
it varies day to day, but I will tell you each day is different. Each day is rewarding, and each day is challenging. But
Mm.
if you have the commitment and the will and the passion to serve, it will come totally natural, Athena. It
Mm.
comes totally natural. And I'll give you a good example today. I just knew I was going to spend majority of my day trying to catch up with emails. As I said, I just got back. But then I had one constituent came in and he just discussed with me an issue that he was having with the state agency. He was submitting this paperwork to the agency. Agency was not getting it. So we had to be that segue into our agencies and help him. And sure enough, we got him processed right then and there, and he was happy. And right behind him came the LA Sheriff's Department, who wanted to partner with us for an event. And we sat down, had a meeting real quick, and I never turn anyone away.
Mm.
That's one thing I do. If you come into the office, we normally meet. We meet with you right then. We don't normally say, well, you have to have an appointment. If we're not available, we get someone who is available. That's one thing that someone Mike Gipson prides himself on. I know as a senior field deputy, I pride myself on always being accessible. So when the sheriff's office came in today and wanted to host an employment job fair, of course, I got right on it, start contacting other partners who we can bring in, other entities, the location, the time, the outreach, how we're going to do outreach, what our target audience will be. And that meeting that may be an hour and a half out of your day right there. And
Mm-hmm.
then you go right into preparing your packet for your evening events. You are my evening event tonight, and tomorrow we'll be celebrating 50 years of Brotherhood Crusade in Los Angeles Gala. So that's going to be another big one tonight, tomorrow evening that everyone will be at. So it never stops. Revolving door.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, so I have a question. This may not be time for it, but how does the field representative for an assembly member communicate, say, with the county levels, like all the different levels of government? Is there that kind of conversation that goes on, or do
That's
you
a
have
very good question.
meetings, or yeah, kind of how does that communication happen?
That's a very good question, Athena. It's very important that we communicate with our counterparts in other offices. Every other office has field representatives, such as myself, on the city, federal, and as well as the Senate side, as well as the county. And we work together. We work together on if I have a county issue, I contact the counterpart in the county who represents the same area that I represent, and we work together on how we can resolve it. And the same thing when we do with the city. I contact my counterpart at the city, but we work together because we see each other all the time. So we're
Mm.
more like field deputy family, if you will.
Yeah.
Because when a constituent sends a request for you to attend an event, they've sent it to these other electeds as well. And
Right.
if your elected cannot come, then of course we're there. So we're normally all together anyway, but that relationship is very important. It
Oh.
is important for our constituents that they are served on every level, that they're represented on every level.
Mm.
That's what we're here for. That's what they elected our members to do, and our members chose us as their staff to represent them in the community to provide that service. And so that's one thing that I pride myself in doing is having relationships with those other field deputies in those other offices,
Mhm.
and that way the constituents are served all the way around.
Right. So I think what I'm hearing too is that because you see these same people over and over, if you do happen to miss a meeting or they miss a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
you could fill them in, or they could say, hey, this happened, you weren't there. This probably is important to your assembly member,
Definitely,
right?
definitely.
The
That
community.
is exactly that's exactly what happened. And when you have good relationships, and also that comes with being a person of your word is very important. If you say you're going to do something, you know, try to do it. Not saying that I'm superwoman because I'm not. And I'm not saying that I haven't missed anything. But
I thought you
communication.
were. Wait a minute.
Oh,
False
please.
advertising. Someone said you were.
No one. My husband just called me that on a text the other day. I think he might be changing his mind. But really, that is a big part of having that relationship with them because they will tell me, "Hey, Michelle, yeah, I missed you at the meeting the other day, but this is what we discussed. These are the concerns on the state level that they need help with, and here's the contact person." That is exactly what we do. And for example, we have a lot of sheriff community meetings in the evening, and it's addressing homelessness, public safety. And so if I'm unable to make it and I'm at another event, I know I can, count on one of them to email me in the morning and say, hey, Michelle, this is what we discussed. This is an issue. But also, more importantly, they'd tell me what their state problem was, giving me a heads up. Hey, just so you know, Miss Smith at 123 Main Street has an issue with her Department of Motor Vehicles driver's license. She's been trying to reach out to someone at Department of Motor Vehicles, not responsive. Can you give her a call? And that also enhances constituent services.
Yeah, that's amazing to me.
It is.
Because I think people often find that government doesn't have any ears, right? That they, oh, why even call? They're so busy. They have stories they're telling themselves, and the actual truth is so opposite from what you're describing.
Definitely. And that is where that trust comes back in, Athena. That is where that empathy comes back in. I always tell people, and the field deputies under me, I always say, you treat every constituent as if it were you or your loved one, because we're all a paycheck away from whatever their issue is, honestly, the way our economy is going. So I always tell when you treat everyone with respect, you treat everyone with compassion, so that when they do call, that empathy portion of you will kick in before that field deputy portion, because that's what they want to know, that you care. They want to know that you care, and the caring comes with solving their issue.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So Kimberly McKenzie says, thanks for your service.
Oh, you're welcome, Ms. McKenzie. Thank you for joining us, and thank you as well.
So you're the senior field representative, and now I'd like to hear a little bit about who's the team? How does this whole...
All right.
I mean, Assembly member has a huge district, right? Carson, Compton.
Yes,
I mean, that's a huge amount of territory, geography-wise. And then he's also in Sacramento. So who's down here in our area supporting him and supporting the constituents? Just your team members, if you could describe kind of what their titles are, what vaguely they do, and so people get an idea of that.
Oh, sure. Well, I tell you, Team Gipson is a family. I will say that first and foremost. We're extremely supportive of one another, and we have each other's back. Where one can't pick up, the other one does. One thing that I was just saying this to our district director, that one thing that I hear often, and I represent majority of the district, so I get around to a lot of meetings. And one thing that I hear all the time is that the 64th Assembly District is accessible. We are accessible, and we answer the phone. They say, you answer your phone. I say, yeah, we answer the phone. You heard I had to make sure, and his phones are still on, and it's 5:30, and the phones are still not turned off yet, even though we close at 5. So as long as we're here, we answer the telephone in this office. But our great team comprised of Christopher Wilson. Chris Wilson is our district director here in our main office. We have great Kathy Williamson, who is our communications director. Who is awesome, and she makes sure that the Assemblyman's media team and that his legislative agenda, our upcoming events, his press releases are all out in the local media here in the South Los Angeles area. And we have, the main important person of the office, I should have named her first, is Kiara Joe, who is his scheduler. Without her, there's none of us.
What is her title, Kiara?
She's the scheduler, office manager.
The scheduler. Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's the most important person here, part of this team, who has to juggle his calendar, keeps us on task and timely. Without her, we're pretty much moving around in the dark. So she's our scheduler here in the district. And we have field representatives, Kyle Lee, Victor Ibarra, and we have Diana Medell. And then we have intern Michelle Padilla. Of course, I would like to say that Kyle represents the city of Carson.
Okay.
Victor has Wilmington. It's a great community of Wilmington. Diana represents the city of Compton. And I have South Los Angeles from Vermont, Manchester, all the way east over to Watts, all the way down Willowbrook, Athens area, North Long Beach, and everything in between.
Wow.
So we make up the great 64th Assembly District representatives for you under the great leadership
And what is the district, the first guy you mentioned, the Chris
Chris
Wilson, I think you said?
Chris Wilson, he's our district director.
Okay,
Correct.
what kind of functions does he do, or what does he do?
Chris is the assemblyman's almost like his right-hand man. So Chris is making sure that we execute the assemblyman's agenda here in the district. He
Oh,
watches he watches what our legislative board is saying, how our votes are going, so we can make sure we're effectively communicating that to the community, number one. Number two, he also makes sure that we keep on task with our events and our schedules to make sure the assemblyman, when he's in a district, that he's prepared. He pretty much oversees the shop of we look out for each other, but he makes sure that we're all where we're supposed to be doing what we're supposed to be doing, of course, for the assembly.
okay.
Great leader, great leadership.
Pamela Thornton wants to give a shout out that you don't forget Harbor Gateway.
Hey, Pamela Thornton, yes, that's right. Great Harbor Gateway. Miss Thornton is one of our commissioners, and she's also a great community partner in our office. Charge it to my heart, Pamela. It's menopause brain. Please, and we love you, Harbor. We love you, Harbor Gateway.
Okay.
Good food, good food.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's funny. So that's the local office then. But now there's a whole team in Sacramento where I think the assembly members there, is it 4 days a week and then he comes home for the weekend, or how does that work?
That is correct.
Okay.
He is there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Now, because his budget's through summertime, they're staying until Friday. We fly him in Friday evening.
Mm.
And in that office, we have that great scheduler, Miss Elaine Douglas. And wow. Of course, she runs the shop up there. And then we have our legislative director, Mr. Jay Jefferson. And he oversees the members' legislative packet. He makes sure he follows what the Assemblyman's legislative agenda is. So, for example, if we mainly have public safety issues, we have foster youth bills that are out, definitely our gun legislation that we're pushing. So Jay makes sure that those bills get through committees, that they get on the calendar, and solicit support, sponsorship, support and sponsorship, and then the legislative aides help prepare those packets. And then and Chris Wilson, our district director, effectively communicates with Jay on a regular basis, daily, to not only watch to see how that legislation is tracking, but also he keeps us abreast on that so we can update the community. And then so you have Lewis, and you have Deepin, and you have Estella, our 3 legislative aides up there who are responsible for gathering that legislative piece together. Jay submits it to them. They gather the backbone work of it, get it prepped for the assemblyman to go present in committee and on the floor.
So the legislative aides, are they sort of like law clerks or researchers?
Yes, that's a good way. That's an excellent way to describe them. They are dropping my pen. I'm gonna just find another one. Okay. Yes, they are. That is exactly what they are. They actually prepare, do the background work for the legislative bill, and pretty much prepare the legislative director with this package. So, for example, if we have a bill, the assemblyman has a bill that he would like to introduce, we check and see if there's a current bill already around that, and if we can just add an amendment, or if it's a bill that he has a sponsor from a new, and they prepare all that background work for him and for the legislative director. And then that's when they get with the assemblyman and add any changes that he would like to change. But everyone here on Team Gipson, from the Sacramento staff down to the Capitol, to the district staff, we were very closely together. We were good together. But we all make sure that the 64th, the constituency of the 64th Assembly District, is served to its fullest.
Mm. And I think when the league did our legislative interview with the assembly person, he was mentioning, I think, that he gets up to 20 or 25 bills that he gets to present or something like that.
Oh yeah, well,
there's something like that each assembly person's allowed to do.
Correct. I believe this year he's presenting 21 this year, as he stated, and his freshman year he carried a lot, majority of them. He's made out pretty good so far. Wow. I think 98%, I want to say, between 90 and 95% of his bills are district focused,
Okay.
strictly district focused. So, and he listens to everyone. That
Mm,
he listens. If someone comes in here with a legislative idea, he's going to take it. He's going to take it and run with it. And we have a couple bills out now that constituents have started and sponsored themselves just by an idea, and then are
wow.
moving through the legislative process, and that's
Mm,
strictly from constituents.
wow, that's amazing. So when his constituents speak, he's really
That's
taking
right.
it to heart and trying to do
That's
something to make it
that's
happen.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. And Athena, that is very important because we're passing, looking to pass legislation to make their lives better. To
Hmm.
make their lives better. So if we pass, what good would it be if we pass legislation or sponsor legislation that has nothing to do with this district? How is
Right.
that effectively serving them? It isn't.
Right.
But so no, he listens. And if you look at our I was just looking at a couple of our packets now, and I already see now 4 of them. I was actually standing there with him when the person requested that he introduce some of these bills, so that for me to see it. And then first thing he says, Michelle, make sure Chris is aware of this. Chris, you make sure Jay's aware of this. Jay, legislative staff aware of it, and everyone has their marching orders.
Right. Wow. So
It
do you
is.
have a couple of examples of what they're working on now that you'd like to share?
I sure do. One of them is the AB 2683, that is a great bill. It's a student author bill. And this gentleman by the name of C.J. Miller and his wife Rhea Miller, we were introduced to them at the Watts Gang Task Force meeting. And he has a student publishing program.
Oh
And
my
he's
God, that's
a
fabulous.
student publishing. Here's a few of the books behind me were the Youth and Imperial Courts Housing Development, Jordan Downs,
Wow.
Gardens have, and as of lately, the OP stars Operation Progress and Watts have written their own books and published them. Well, the
Wow.
Assemblyman, not only does this enhance and increase our literacy issue here in the district, as we well know this district has with our students, but it also, where else can you go as an 18-year-old and say, I wrote my own book, I told my own story, this
Yeah,
is my story.
fabulous.
So they wrote their own book, and that is AB 2683. The Assemblyman Gipson felt it was so important and a necessity in our district that he would like to put. He asked for budgetary in our budget this year to bring 500 students per year to take them through a literacy, editing, writing, and marketing course that leads to the development of publishing a book. So that is
Wow,
one.
that would be
Um,
fabulous. And CJ's on with us right now, so I just want to acknowledge
oh
CJ.
wow!
Great job, CJ.
Wow, yes. Yes,
Amazing.
he that
Amazing.
program is excellent. Um, another another latest one that I really want to point out. Assemblyman Gipson has a couple bills around youth,
Mm,
foster youth. Um, we have an organization uh, with Miss Eugenia Wilson, Living Advantage, and she focuses on foster youth. And
mm.
one of their concerns, I remember he met with her years ago, or not, I think it was about last year, was after our foster youth age out, they don't have any of their, a lot of them don't have any of their records,
Right.
be it birth certificates, be it social security cards, dental records, what's their blood type. So she wanted to create a database for those records for our foster youth and our transitional age youth. So one of those, and out of that was another foster youth benefits, which is AB 2337. They were existing to close the loop for foster care to be able to extend the foster care benefits for them. Again, a lot of our homeless population is our transition age youth
Mm,
that are transitioning out. That's that stuck in between age,
yeah.
that they're looking at. So that's one. Another bill that we have, as you may have heard, the issue with sativa drinking water, and that is AB 2179, and it seeks to process for a local city to sell water and sewer system assets when it's determined to be in the best interest of the city.
Oh,
Um,
hmm.
So that's another bill that
Yeah.
is. So if there's issues in the community, the assemblyman, that's the first thing he does is try to find what can we do on the legislative side to
Right.
make their life better. We also have right now events here in the district, but if we want to talk about state transitioning into legislation, then this is part of that package. So we have a great 2018 legislative packet that the Assemblyman is definitely excited about. I'm excited about when I speak of it in the community. It
Mm.
has 21 bills, so hopefully if we have the legislative fairy, or is a legislative angel.
Mm. That's amazing, you know?
Be great.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's see. So what's I mean, you might have already said it, but so what's the favorite part of your job? What's your favorite part of the job?
Favorite part of my job, I would have to say, is public service, is giving back,
Mm.
is providing resources. When I assist in providing housing for that mother who's been homeless with her 3 children, and she gets housing along with assistance from our partners with security deposits, that's what makes it rewarding. When I provide that constituent who just came home from a correctional facility another chance at life with a job and resources and housing for him or he or she as well, that is what makes my job rewarding. So it's just like that where you can make a difference in anyone's quality of life and self-sustainability as possible. That's what makes our world go around. That's what makes America great, really. And that is what makes this district great.
Mm. So then, since I have to ask, what's the most troubling or difficult or least favorite part of your job?
The least favorite part of my job, I would have to say, well, I don't really have one, but if I had to,
Yeah, if you had to invent one, what would
if
it
I had
be?
to say, it'd probably be say lack of sleep, Athena. It would be lack of sleep
Yeah.
because I truly love serving. Probably, and aside from the lack of sleep, I would have to say when it does take a little minute to get that service, because for right now, by the time the constituent gets to us, it is a dire need.
Mm.
It's a right now need. Remember, if they could have fixed it on their own, we wouldn't be here. They wouldn't have called us in the first place. So by the time they've came to their elected official, to the assemblyman's office, they have already tried and exhausted other measures. When they come exhausted and then I can't do anything in that right now moment as much as I want things to happen, immediately. But things do take time. Things take processing, time to process, as well as review. I think that's probably my most frustrating part, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah,
is.
just frustration about.
But it does, the lack of response time that we get when it's something this in depth and requires a lot of review or processing. But I will tell you this. I
Yes.
will tell you with the I'm dating myself, but with the scanning of emailing of documents,
Oh, yes.
with technology, with communication such as this, have gotten a lot better, have moved the process along a little bit faster, so it's made it better.
So I feel like you're a very poised person. So,
Thanks.
and you're very smiley. I like that. So I wonder when people pop into your office and they're not in a happy mood. So how do you handle, and this goes to any career. How do
That's
you
right.
how do you diffuse the person who's really upset, bringing upset from somewhere else onto your desk? What advice do you have for us human beings and not superwomen on how you diffuse that?
You know how you do it? You tell them, I know how you feel.
Hmm.
You tell them, I know how you feel. And if you can think of an example in your life where you can provide that empathy moment, all they want to know is that you feel, that you care, that you understand. Once that kind of brings them down a little bit. Once you say, hey, I get it. I stood in that line for 2 hours as well, or, this happened to me. The cop pulled me over. And they're like, it happened to you? Well, yeah, it can happen to me too. So once we bring them down a little bit, showing our empathetic side, then they're pretty much willing to say, okay, she's human. She can help.
Right.
And
So
of
you're
course,
not
we
no
go right in.
government official, right? So you're not that
Exactly.
official.
Exactly.
Okay.
She just doesn't work for an official that doesn't want to help us. No, not at all.
Yeah,
And
and
the
you don't come
assemblyman,
across
the
that way.
assemblyman does that same thing as well.
And you just have the ability to stay calm and keep smiling, I suppose, huh?
Oh yeah, I stay calm. I have a good old husband and kids to yell at. I got a lot of I got somewhere to put this frustration. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Oh
okay, don't
yeah.
worry. That
Oh yeah, I got somewhere for it to go with things. Don't worry. But for the most part, that is what our constituents want. And after you serve them, they go share that with someone else.
Mm,
Hey, you got a problem? Go over there to Assemblyman Gibson's office. They'll help. And
mm,
that, again, that's how we start gaining trust in our government.
right. And it debunks the whole
It
idea
does.
that you guys are cold or whatever.
It
Whatever
does.
people
That's
think.
correct. It does. It
Okay,
does.
good. So earlier you were talking about a package, a legislative or no, your so the legislative package. What does that terminology mean? I just wanted to circle back to that real quick.
Sure. His legislative packet is a packet of all his bills that he plans on presenting to the state legislature. That one we share with the community, letting them know what he's doing in Sacramento, what his legislative agenda is. And we also ask for the community feedback. So we the same packet here that I looked at when I was reading the I'm going to take that to Watts Gang Task Force, to Watts Neighborhood Council, to LA South Chamber, and all other meetings in the district, and as well as the other field representatives will take that packet, inform them of our updated packet, ask for their support, but also listen to what their feedback is, because we don't know everything. And he always is, always looking for help. But someone may say, hey, you mentioned that about this foster bill. This foster bill, I was a foster kid. This is what we didn't have. This is what happened with me. Because if you're not in their shoes, you can attempt to know what they need, but you'll never know till you're there. And
Mm,
there's little things as such as I didn't never have my birth certificate going from house to house. Things that we have every day, that we have access to every day, they don't.
mm,
So having that communication with our community and that relationship is very important when introducing packages such as his.
mhm. So as you're out there, the community's validating whether he's on the right track with something or
Oh
give you
yeah.
extra feedback, that kind of idea. Okay,
Oh yes.
got it.
And I'd say this, and if he is not, or even if he is, they will contact our office or send an email and say, hey, can I have a meeting with him to explain why I feel or disagree or agree? And those are meetings he takes right away, because he always wants to hear the input from the community and from the district and from the constituents, because again, they elected him to represent them.
Hmm.
So he wants to always make sure he's on the right path and leading, passing legislation that is beneficial for their life.
Hmm. And also, I would think he's getting educated by his own constituents, because
Constituents.
one human being can only learn so much,
That's
so deep,
right.
right? You can
That's
only,
right.
go deep in so many subjects. So I
That's
would think
right.
that's a big help to him too.
It
You know,
is.
all those experts helping. Yeah.
It
So,
is. It really is.
so you mentioned that you, in our pre-talk, that you're going after a master's degree. Is that right?
I am.
Oh,
I am
awesome.
in public policy.
Oh my
I,
God.
but
That is awesome. Isn't that kind
you,
of backwards? You've got 25 years in public policy. Are you teaching them or are they teaching you? What's going on over there?
they're going to teach me. They're going to teach me. One of my one
So
of my
cool.
passions. One of my passions, Athena, was always juvenile justice.
Mm,
So that is one of my focal points. It's always been juvenile justice. I think if we can get our youth early on in the beginning of will we make mistakes? Of course. But I think when we have already categorized them as felons and we already have them locked away and the key thrown away without chances and wraparound services and resources, but not only that, but addressing the root of the problem. You can't part a tree from the top. You have to start from the bottom. You have to get into the root of the issue of this youth in order to provide services, sustainability services for him or
mm,
her. So that's always been one of my passions, and that's one of my, in between this great job of mine that I plan on pursuing, I guess I do my work with my toothpicks in my eyelids.
that's true. These are long days. I mean, it sounds like you're probably hitting the ground at 7 a.m. and closing up shop at like 7, 8, 9 p.m., right?
Oh,
Those,
most definitely. And then you close up shop at 7, 8, 9, 7 or 8, run home, throw on a ball gown, and go down to an event, to a gala. It's
Yeah.
very, it's
Long.
very a long day. It's very important. And everyone said, well, you go, to galas in the evening, or you go here in the morning. You're up
That's
early.
what
It's
people
the
think.
it is. We eat good food.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
I think it's very important that we show up, support community business organizations who are doing the work in the district.
Mm-hmm.
You have your agencies who are actually getting it done
Mm.
with or without government funding, with grant opportunities,
Oh yeah.
fundraisers, who are actually doing the work. So when their anniversary comes up, I definitely have to show up and support and say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it's about.
And then I think you recently were invited back to your hometown to do a big. What was
Yes.
that? What did you come back? You were
Yes, I was the 2018 keynote speaker at Harrisburg High School this year back in Pennsylvania, my old high school. It was amazing. Again, you never know what's on your bucket list until it pops on there. And that was not one that I put on there. A great friend
Yeah.
and classmate Terrence Parsons of mine did, and it was the best. Anytime I'm able to sow a seed into our youth, and with any opportunity I can get to do that, I jump at that opportunity. And this was a blessing to sow seeds in almost 300 children, 300 graduates. So it was just a
300.
blessing.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it
a
was
big
a
high
great.
school.
It was almost 300 graduates. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful turnout. The parents, the graduates. So anytime I'm able to come back to my community, show them, hey, I'm from right here where you are. You can be this too. And the effective changes here that I think I've contributed to the community and the community back home. And I pray they do the same thing. So the speech went very well. Again, I wrote it about 10 times. had
Well,
had some other hands and help, and it was
yeah,
all
it's
over the
tough
place.
to know what to say, right? It's tough to know what to say,
Exactly.
and you
To
do want
these
to make
to,
an impact.
to 17 and 18-year-olds nowadays, if you have to say something that they will keep their interest, that they will remember, that is beneficial, and that they will take with them for life. Those are your main key points you want to remember when speaking to teenagers. Because if you go in there talking about legislative policy and House floor, they be sleeping, tweeting.
Right. That's funny. Sleeping and tweeting.
Sleeping and tweeting. I don't sleep and tweet. Give me a chance. But
Yeah.
they did. They kept their eyes open.
So Pamela says, "Iron sharpens iron." I like that saying.
Oh, thank
That's a
you,
good
Iron. You're my iron, Pamela.
one. So just in closing, I would like, since you flew to the East Coast to give advice, I figured probably you could share some wisdom with us today, because we do have a lot of students who tend to watch these videos after the fact. So if someone was looking into being a field representative, or just someone wanted to be in politics and they're still in school, maybe they're working on their poli-sci degree like you did, what advice would you give them on where should they start if they want to be in politics, but they just don't know where to start, right? What would you recommend they do?
I
I
definitely
definitely
recommend
recommend
that you
that you
volunteer.
volunteer.
Volunteer
Volunteer
or
or
intern,
intern,
but be
but
a
be a
part
part.
of the process. It's
It's
easy to
easy for
tell you to
people
go
to
out
go
and
out.
vote, but that's not the beginning. The beginning is actually going out there, getting to know your area, getting to know the needs and the wants of your community and the district that you live in, know who your representative is and what their platform is. And if it works for you, then you jump on board and assist moving that along. And if it doesn't, then be a part of change. But I always encourage our youth to volunteer, stand alongside your elected officials, have your voice heard, and suggest things. If you see something that's not, you be the change that you want to see. If something is going on in your community that is not right or you feel is unjust, you talk to your elected official, but always come with an idea or suggestion if you can. But definitely, I suggest you volunteer, you intern. You will know. It's almost like a house. It's almost like that wedding dress. You will know when you found it. You will surely know when it hits you. And it may be something as a field representative. It may be something as just a volunteer for special events to just say, hey, I just want to be a part and help. It may be on the campaign side. Some may want to go help there. But it's very important to whatever it is that you be a part of your process. And so
Mm,
that's definitely volunteering and interning. I don't want anyone to wake up and say I want to be a policymaker and go off into political science and then come back out and say, I think I wanted to be a tennis player.
right.
You know,
Yeah,
that's
volunteering exposes you to how it really is,
exposes
right?
you, it exposes you to how government works. Volunteering also exposes you again to having a say in your community. When
Mm,
you volunteer at events and you hear people coming up, you hear either their issues, their plans, their suggestions, their wants, their needs. Hey, we need a turn signal here at this light. There's been 50 accidents in 2 years. They hear that and it's like, maybe I want to get into public safety. Maybe I want to get into public policy making, or maybe I just want to go sit and talk to the mayor of this city on how we can get a light here.
right.
So something that's volunteering or interning is definitely two ways to get involved immediately. And I suggest it all the time. We have interns. Our office has interns throughout the year. So I implore, I urge anyone, if you know of anyone in 12th grade or in high school, 12th grade high school or in college, who's interested in interning here in the office, then they should, of course, contact Kyle Lee, 310-324-6408. He's our intern coordinator here, and he is definitely coming to give you an interview. But we love our interns and we welcome them.
Awesome. What a
Thank
great opportunity that would be for someone studying and thinking they might want to be in politics, right?
you.
There's so
Definitely,
many different facets to it. So
definitely, it
that's
is.
awesome.
It
That's
is.
awesome. Well, Michelle, unfortunately, we're almost out of time. Is there anything else I know it flies by, I gotta say. So is there anything else that you want to share about the district or anything, just some parting thoughts?
Well, in parting thoughts, I want I want to say thank you so much for choosing me to be a part of this interview. Again, you have added something to my bucket list. Didn't know I
Great.
was there. And also, it is a true pleasure to represent the 64th Assembly District under the great leadership of Assemblyman Mike Gipson, where the constituents have big hearts, lots of love, compassion, drive, and motivation. And I'm so blessed to be part of a team and work for a member that shares that same mission as I've always grown up on, the
Mm.
services I've always provided, how my mother raised me. And it's just great to be a part. And I thank you so much for respecting me and looking at me enough to be
Oh
part
yeah.
of your
I was like,
webcast
I want this lady
today.
on our show.
I love it. Thank you so much. Hope I didn't disappoint. Feel free to
Oh no,
please
you did fabulous. Pamela says thank
anytime.
you as well. So
Tell him I said thank you. I know I owe you lunch, sweet pea.
So,
Thank you.
thank you, Michelle. And just to close out, next week we won't have our thing on Thursday. Learn with the League will be on Friday, the 22nd. And we have City of Torrance council person Milton Herring, who will be sharing what it's like to be a council person, the road to becoming elected, and what exactly does a councilman do? Seems like they go to a lot of parties too. So we would like to know what actually a council person does for a medium-sized city. Torrance is considered medium-sized. So I hope that you'll all join us for that. And if you'd like to join our mailing list again, you just have to text 444-999, kind of like if it's a phone number, someone's name. So text 444-999, and in the message put LWVTA, and you'll be automatically added to our mailing list. So that's it for Learn with the League. Thank you again, Michelle, for making this so educational and fun. And we'll see you
Thank you.
again soon out in the field.
Thank you. Thank you, Athena. Have a great one. Bye bye.